My name is Captain Jim and I'm a fishing guide in Sarasota, Florida. Well, as you can see, I'm not in Florida today. I'm in Western North Carolina trout fishing. So in this video, I'm going to talk about my favorite trout fishing lures. Alright, let me briefly discuss the tackle that I use. I won't go into it in great detail, but it's pretty simple. I use ultralight spinning tackle for all of this type of fishing. 90% of the time I use 4-pound test line. I'll even go down to 2-pound test if the water's super clear and the fish are spooky, particularly trout. I tend to like a longer rod as well. This is a 7-foot Lew's combo. I think it's around 80 bucks. You can get a fine outfit for less than 100, even around 50 if you want. But this ultralight spinning tackle is by far the best choice for casting these really light lures. There are many different lures that are effective. This is by far my favorite. This is the 1/16 ounce Warden's original rooster tail spinner. I've used a lot of different lures. This is absolutely my go-to. There's several reasons for this. They make a ton of different colors. This is probably my favorite. I tend to lean towards the gold bladed lures with a bright body. Black can also be an excellent color. I have caught fish on white, especially in the middle of the day on a bright sunny day. The thing that sets this lure apart from other lures such as the Mepps spinner perhaps, it's so light. And in these little small streams that are only a foot and a half deep, this lure rarely hangs up. We've been fishing with this all morning and never lost it. The blade spin with just the slightest little movement. Another feature, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, see that little single hook? These rooster tails are available in these single hook versions that have several advantages. In places where you're legally required to use a single hook artificial lure, this saves you the trouble of having to replace the hook or cut the other two parts of a treble off. For you catch and release fishermen, which hopefully most of us are, certainly makes releasing the fish easier. So my number one fishing lure, the Warden's original rooster tail spinner. This is what they look like in the package. Okay, say come in a bunch of different colors. White one excellent on a clear day. Black can be good anytime. If I had to pick one color, it would be that bright one. If I'm fishing slightly deeper water and going for bigger fish, I will jump up the sizes to the 1/8 ounce. Just to show you in comparison, this is the 1/8 ounce and this is the 1/16 ounce. You can see a noticeable size difference. This bait will hang up quite a bit more often in shallower water. Bottom line, this 1/16 ounce bait will get the job done in 95% of your creek and small river fishing applications. Again, my favorite color. I think they actually call this rainbow trout or trout. Bright colors with the gold blade. If I had to pick one lure to fish with in streams for trout and bass the rest of my life, it would be this. Okay, the next lure on the list that we're going to talk about is the Blue Fox spinner. This, I believe, is the Vibrax that they call it. I particularly use these in deeper rivers and holes as well as lakes. It's an excellent spinner to troll. As you can see there, the body's quite a bit larger and heavier. I have a lot of problems with snags fishing with this lure in these more shallow streams and rivers that I like to fish. But for anglers fishing deeper, faster water, and especially lakes, excellent fishing lure. Another of my favorite spinners for trout fishing is the old reliable Mepps. I don't happen to have one, but here's a picture of one. My favorite color combination is the gold blade with the natural squirrel tail or whatever it is they use. This is a really good all-around spinner for trout, especially in the smaller sizes. This is a classic little spot right here. Nice deep run in between some riffles. I got some rapids down there. Sometimes the fish will be in the faster water. One great thing about the spinner, you can fish it in 6 feet or 6 inches of water and it hardly ever hangs up. One of the reasons I like the Rooster tail over the Mepps and some of the other heavier spinners. It just doesn't hang up. Super easy to fish, just cast it across the current. Reel just fast enough to keep the line tight. I like to give it a little twitch to get the blade spinning. It's pretty late in the trout season. We're in the middle of June here in the North Carolina mountains. And obviously the water's warm enough that I can wet wade. And I get cold easy living in Florida. So this is just a beautiful way to fish, so comfortable and fun. Got a little rainbow trout on here. On my 16th ounce little Rooster tail. There it is flashing around. I lost a couple earlier. I think I was horsing them a bit, but this is a pretty nice one. These things are so easy to fish. Just cast it right across the stream. Steady retrieve. I don't think I'm going to net this one. Let's see if we can land him. Get that on the video.
Well,
they're so slimy. But there he is on the little Rooster tail. Excellent little trout lure. This is my favorite fishing lure for these size streams. See you, buddy. Oh, got one. There we go. That's an average size little stalker trout. Try to be gentle with him and get him back in the water. If he pops off, he pops off. That's a pretty good one, actually. Oh, that's a brook trout.
it is?
Yes, that's a brookie. I still want to let it go. So there we go. Got it?
Yeah.
These tiny spoons are excellent fishing lures for trout, bass, and other species in streams, rivers, and lakes. One thing, this is the Kastmaster style. This isn't actually an Acme Kastmaster, but it's got that flat style to it. These things are very aerodynamic and cast a long way. They're excellent for trolling, and they also work well in these streams as long as the water's deep enough. In real shallow water, they hang up. But they have a really tight, fast little wiggle. When you cast them out, just sharp little twitches of the rod will make them flash. I prefer gold probably most of the time. Silver certainly is another very popular color and works well. Definitely a versatile all-around lure that most anglers should have in their tackle box. These are more of your traditional spoons. This happens to be a Johnson Sprite spoon. There's a bunch of different manufacturers: Crocodile, Lure Jensen, Swedish Pimple. All of them fish the same and all of them work very well. Excuse me. Very versatile lure. Can be cast out and retrieved. The best retrieve is usually sharp twitches with the paws to let the spoon flutter down. It casts really well. Also excellent when trolling in lakes for the most part. These types of spoons can also be presented vertically. Just hook them up, drop them straight down on structure, jerk them up, and they'll flutter down. This works obviously better in lakes. So I probably prefer gold 80% of the time. Silver works really well, particularly on a sunny day when the water's clear. Definitely a lure every angler fishing for trout, bass, and other species in rivers, streams, and lakes should have. One tip, these things will twist your line up. So you should use a swivel of some sort. You can either use a snap swivel right there, or what I usually do is tie about 24 inches of leader and then a tiny swivel there. Really help reduce the line twist, otherwise it will twist your line up and cause you some aggravation. But a lure every angler should have. Alrighty, I'm now going to share with you guys my secret weapon. This is one of my, if not my favorite fishing lure for both fresh and saltwater. Believe it or not, I tear up just about every species that I catch in my guiding duties in Sarasota, Florida. But also, this is a fantastic freshwater fishing lure. This is the Rapala X-Rap Extreme Action Slash Bait. When fishing in rivers and streams like this for trout and bass and other species, this 08 size works well. It has a very erratic action. It only runs a couple feet below the surface, so you don't snag very often. Definitely a big fish bait. So you guys looking for numbers, like especially when trout fishing, will do well with a spinner or small spoon. But if you're looking for that trophy, these larger plugs will definitely get the job done. Work very, very well when trolled in open water and lakes. As you can imagine, pretty much matches the size of the shad and other forage species that are in. I like this olive color a lot. Excuse me. White is also a very good color. Some anglers prefer like a trout pattern or even a fire tiger type color. But excellent all-around lure for trout, bass, just about every freshwater game fish species, particularly in these smaller creeks and rivers. Rapala makes a whole line of excellent jerk baits other than the X-Rap. This happens to be a Husky jerk. Many anglers are familiar with the original floating minnow. The Husky jerks are a little bit less money than the X-Raps and work fine. They're also available in these smaller sizes. These things are deadly when fishing in these tiny streams or smaller streams and rivers. They seldom hang up. They'll catch larger than average trout. Also very effective on smallmouth bass. Excellent little lure, allows you to cover a lot of water. Easy to cast. The strikes are obvious. Your hookup ratio is good with these treble hooks. Excellent little river fishing lure. This is a legendary little river fishing lure. Most anglers who fish rivers and streams know what it is. This is the Rebel Wee Craw. Comes in various different sizes, but has a ton of action. Does a lot of sideways wobbling. You cast it out, give it a little twitch, it dives down, bounces off of rocks. Excellent imitation of a fleeing crawfish. Comes in quite a few different color combinations so that you can match the type of crawfish you have in your stream. Excellent little lure. Probably the #1 river smallmouth bass fishing lure, but surprisingly it'll also catch trout and some larger than average ones.